number 6 seed. In the East, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, our 5th team out of the ACC. They had top 5 wins. They beat North Carolina, Duke twice, Louisville, and Iowa. A very tough team, Mike Brey's team. And they'll take on the winner of the first 4 game in Dayton on Wednesday between the Michigan Wolverines.
Wow.
Out of the Big Ten.
That is a wow.
The Wolverines quarterfinal win over top seed Indiana in the Big Ten tournament might have made the difference for them. And Michigan will be taking on the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa.
Well, the first thing I think about, on Selection Sunday today is 11 bids in 16 years, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 7. And that's something I'm really proud about with our program. We're thrilled to be in New York. It's a great Notre Dame town. We have great memories of our Big East days playing and hanging out in the city. It's kind of nice that we'll get a feel of Barclay because we're going to be spending some time in Barclay Arena, given that we're in a preseason event there next year, and the ACC tournament will move there for 2 years starting next season. It is a little unusual that you don't really know your opponent yet. Usually we've turned around, I've left you guys, and we start breaking down one team. So we'll try and get a little bit of a feel of both, but not waste too much time and try and maybe concentrate on us for a couple days. But that's the one thing that's kind of a new adjustment, just thinking about it here in the last 45 minutes.
Mike, how do you not take today for granted? I mean, 2 years ago, your season was already over.
Yeah.
You said all the consecutive prints that you've made.
Yeah, I just, hope people realize, man, it's, it's hard to be in this thing. It is hard to be in it, and I am just so thrilled when we can, when our program, our fans, our team can celebrate this day. It's very powerful, and we're really proud of it. And again, it's the best time of year when you're in it. It's the worst time of year when you coach and you're not in it.
When you start looking at yourself, where do you start?
Our team? Yeah, I think for us, you probably tear up the stat sheets of the regular season. Obviously, there's some good stats in there, and there's some not so good stats, and say complete clean slate. And you get into some good breakdown work. I like that we play Friday. I told them, I think the most important thing about this week, we have 3 days of practice on our floor. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure of our travel Wednesday yet, but, three good days of practice on our floor to really kind of work on us and get some reps on us and get flowing and playing and go up and attack it.
I think it was Rex that told me that he kind of liked, not knowing, just because it was kind of like an ACC tournament style, where you just know that you have to play your best brand of basketball and hope that that's...
So now Rex is an authority in his first ACC tournament, No, I'll say this. I will not be as distracted with the opponent. I'll be more concentrated on my team, and that's probably a good thing for this team right now. To work on us for a couple days, and then maybe throw in some Michigan Tulsa stuff Wednesday.
When you look at your bracket too, I mean, there are like 7 teams that could reasonably make the Final Four. It seems like you guys could have quite the time.
No, I look at the. It's like the weekend tournament. The 4 teams that are going to be in it. And there's 5 teams in it right now. Our mini bracket, it's a 5-team bracket right now. But you kind of look at a weekend thing. I haven't really looked past it. I just glanced to see who else was in New York with us. And, Fran Dunphy, who's a great friend. Jay Wright, are they there? Yeah, Nova's there, right? Yeah, Nova's up there in the other session. Nova's up there. And Iowa, Fran, another good friend. You just kind of look at the coaches, Bob Huggins there, just guys that you've had deep relationships with. So I think there'll be good crowds up there given the teams that are going to be there.
Do you know anything about Michigan or Tulsa?
Yeah, I've watched Michigan play. I know, we played against John Beilein a lot back in the old Big East days. This is a program that's reliant on the three-point shot, very skilled and good with the ball. Very similar to our system. Kind of systems are built a little bit similarly, and we used to talk about that a lot when West Virginia and Notre Dame were in the same league. So certainly know his system. Got to get a better feel for personnel. I know they lost a heck of a player, but they played pretty well without him. I only watched Tulsa for a half this year. I got to kind of get a feel for them tomorrow.
Mike, when you talk about focusing on yourself, and Rex wasn't the only one, other people were saying that as well. How do you get back to that North Carolina, Clemson, Louisville stretch, which was the last time where you were really consistent?
Yeah. I think if we get reps and we can get in a rhythm, and I think you've got to go a lot of 5-on-5 still. Who do we start? I think that's up for discussion. Do we start the game differently? I think those are things we need to think about to kind of maybe find some new energy, as we move into this tournament.
How many starting combinations might you consider? More than 2?
Oh, I don't know yet. Let me think about it. I don't play till Friday, so I got a lot of time to screw my team up.
Last year, you guys come rolling into the tournament. Where do you think this group is mentally going in this year?
I think they'll be confident. I mean, we got beat good by a heck of a team, but we won a great one down there too. We won a thrilling one down there and showed some real March grit. I thought we ran into a buzzsaw against maybe the best team in the tournament. So we're not going to really dwell on that. And it's. Just because we didn't have a trophy at the selection show up there like last year doesn't mean we don't feel we can get going a little bit.
Demetrius said that he and Steve have had conversations like, hey, the turnovers have to stop with us. Is that what
Yeah, I think our backcourt needs to play better. There's no question. We're so reliant on those guys, and we're not a 6 seed without what we got out of our guards' body of work this year. And I don't have to bring up anything with them. Those two guys are really hard on themselves. And but for us to advance, our guards are going to have to find that rhythm that they had really most of this season.
Matt Ryan, especially excited about
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully he doesn't play too fast. We just finally got him slowed down a little bit. And, he's been a big impact guy for us, really, the last couple games. He's been really good. But, a lot of our East Coast kids, Bonzi, Zach, Steve, that's not a bad trip for those families to get up to New York. And again, we have a lot of memories of hanging out in New York during tournament time when it was the Big East tournament.
Mike, did you know where you were headed? Did you see the
Even though, it's funny, my son texted me, and I thought he was messing with me. So I just deleted it. And then 15 minutes later, we show up, and then I found out we had a little leakage going on, huh? God, nothing's secure, huh? That's great. That is so typical. It's so typical of college basketball. It's great. That's great.
Do you sense a certain level of hunger from your team?
Sure.
The way that things went against-
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, man, we got to go for it. I don't want us uptight or playing afraid to lose. We got to let it rip and flow and go. And, we did show, we showed a lot of that the last 14, 15 minutes in D.C. against Duke. I don't know how much we had left to show against North Carolina, but they were the culprit there. They were fabulous.
What do you want to do with Steve this week, just to sort of get him in a good state of mind? Or
Not overcoach him, play a little bit, not overcoach either one of my guards. Those guys they're really, I want to keep them loose. I don't want them too hard on themselves. We got to move forward. And, the biggest thing is getting in a rhythm. I said this before we played North Carolina State. At some point you get away from the drills and you got to go a lot of 5-on-5 and let guys play and flow. And I think we need a lot of 5-on-5 work through this week. The one thing I did say to them in the locker room after the North Carolina game was the game situation we will do is 4 minutes left to end of half, because we did not handle end of halves well. We were fortunate enough to come back and win the Duke game, but we could not recover in the North Carolina game, and it was a rash of turnovers that were, I thought very out of character. But I think that's a game situation we'll put on the board probably tomorrow and Tuesday, just to come back to being good with the ball and finishing the half, solidly.
Matt and Rex, how much do you feel like you have different, you sort of have a different player there than maybe you had in February?
You're talking with Matt Ryan and Rex. Yeah, I don't see them as freshmen anymore now. They've played. And you know what? They were unafraid to compete against the old guys in June. That's what I loved about them. You know, they're not afraid. They have an edge about them. They believe they should be playing. And now after a couple months and 100 practices and 32 games, you know, they're very ready. I just don't want them too excited because it's their first NCAA tournament. And but I'm very confident in them because they've delivered for us.
Both said they feel like they can say something now.
Yeah, they do. You're right, they do. I think they have some input with the group. They're not on eggshells maybe around the leadership, and they had to earn that, and they have.
Mike, where do you feel Demetrius is at right now? Obviously, he's been struggling lately. How do you get him back to where he has been?
Yeah, I think with him, I don't want him hanging his hat on his jump shot so much. I think so much is evaluated on how he's shooting the ball. I think when he defends and we give him some driving areas to get in there and maybe get fouled and create some plays, you know, that helps him. A lot of times the smaller lineup helps him because now the floor is more open when Matt Ryan is in there instead of one of the bigs. And that is something throughout the season and throughout a game we have come back to kind of not only help him, but kind of help our guards. It gives them more room to drive and create.
Do you think any of it is a mental thing of him trying to just put too much on his own shoulders?
Well, I think he wants it so bad for his team, and he wants to win so bad. He was really emotional on the bench the last 5 minutes of the North Carolina game. It's the first I've seen him like that. I mean, he just was really upset, you know, for us, and yet he was cheering on the second unit who played the last 5 minutes. The thing with him all year, it's no different now, is just trying to take the weight of the world off him and have him smile a little bit. Sometimes before a game I'll say, I got to see a smile before the tip, and you know, he doesn't have to be the whole thing. That's why you know, he and Steve rooming together and those two guys joined at the hip. I think they help each other take a little pressure off each other.
Mike, it's not like he's been taking contested fade threes.
No.
Where is his sweet spot that you want to see him get more into?
Yeah, I want him to just keep taking good shots. I mean, he's taking good shots. I want him to, you know, keep taking them. I don't want him turning them down because, you know, he can get on a run. It's a beautiful stroke. The mid-range game helps him sometimes when he can get to 15 feet and knock it in. And, you know, what's helped us before, and it was evident in the second half against Duke, is him driving that thing to the rim and getting in there and putting the onus on the official and making a big guy kind of make a play on him.
What's VJ's health status?
You know, we're going to get that tooth looked at. He got nailed in the tooth. His face is swollen a little bit. He's seeing a dentist. And hopefully, I don't think it's going to be a major issue, but he swelled up once he got off the plane last night. And so I think we can calm that down. If he's a little limited in practice tomorrow, my feeling is he would be. The wrist is not the issue. He got bumped in a tooth that is capped and had a root canal, and his face swelled up after we got off the plane. So even today he was swollen. So we're actually getting him to a dentist this evening to kind of take a look at him. Bonzi, a little bit of a twisted ankle, but he's fine.
How much of an advantage can it be for you going against teams, whoever you play on Friday, teams that don't know you? You step out of the familiarity of the ACC.
I was sitting next to Bonzi during the selection show, and he made a comment, and I've said it many times. It is kind of fresh and exciting to not play an ACC team after just playing 20 of them, you know. And John Beilein and Frank Haith are thinking the same thing, you know, not dealing with when you're grinding people in your league for 20 games. It's nice to kind of play somebody else, and hopefully that can be an advantage for us.
The days leading up to the first round game last year, did you have as much specific stuff you wanted to work on compared to this year, or was it a little bit different in that respect? Maybe been in a little bit of the same frame of mind, you know, where you want to keep finding an offensive flow, and so you do a lot of 5-on-5. So I don't think it's going to be that different than how we prepare. Fresh mind, fresh slate, you know. We won it last year, but you had to flush it and get ready for the next one. We didn't win it this year, but you got to flush it and let everybody know it's a clean slate moving forward.
Do you use what happened against Kentucky as motivation at all from last season?
No.
I know you don't want to overcoach the guys, but you also can't have as many turnovers as you did the last 2 games. What do you draw a line with that this week?
You know, I think our guys know how important taking care of the ball has been in our program historically. And, you know, I think somebody brought it up that, you know, Steve and Demetrius already are talking amongst themselves about taking better care of it. It's not like I have to clip off 30 turnovers from DC and show them it. They know. If we have a rash of them in practice, then I may have to get excited.
Have you checked the Knicks schedule to see if Jaren's going to be in there at all?
I have not, and I could care less about that right now. Yeah, I love Jaren, but that's the least of my worries right now.
Logistically, you run scouts on both Tulsa and Michigan.
Yeah, like Anthony Solomon will start doing research on Michigan. Rod Balanis will start doing research on Tulsa, and Martin will handle the other, getting familiar with the other side of the bracket. West Virginia. Is it Asheville?
Stephen F. Austin.
All Stephen F. Austin, who's really good. So those guys will get familiar with that. I just want to make sure we're not in the air flying when that game tips Wednesday, because you know sometimes they put you on late flights with all the different charters the NCAA uses. I don't want to be in the air. I would think that would be the second game Wednesday in Dayton, and which means it could be like 10 o'clock at night. I'd like to be in the hotel watching it with my staff. You can't scout it in person, even though you can scout in person at the site. You know, like if we win in the next game, we can go out and watch just like the ACC tournament.
I mean, this has been around a while. I'm sure you have some good friends who have been in your situation right now. Do you say, like, hey, how'd you do this?
You know, I'm thinking I may research that tomorrow. You know, some guys at how you handle. But I think the focus really has to be us. And we can work in some tendencies of 2 teams, you know, in practice, maybe a little bit Tuesday, a little more Wednesday, and then Thursday, we certainly will have some time to get ready.
Given that game is going to be late Wednesday, you'll probably be in the, would you like to be in the late slot Friday night because Michigan has to play?
Well, I'd like Michigan. I like whoever win to have to play us at noon on Friday if they play Thursday. I don't have any preference there really. I mean, you know, it's I'd be overthinking it there.
I can tell you the team and all don't think about the other team right now. Right now, we're just all we think about is ourselves.
Yeah, it's great because, you know, it's the one thing I told him. I said, you know, we have 3 days of practice to really concentrate on us before we leave. And I was hoping we played Friday. I wanted a little more time to kind of work with us and prepare. And so I think starting tomorrow becomes 3 really important days to work on us before we head to New York. Thank you, gang. See you later in the week.